Uh-oh.
Welcome to
Yo.
Chronic Combat Conversations, a live look at our best bets, picks, and predictions for every UFC event. With your hosts, TV Scouting MMA and
The Guru back again for UFC Vegas 50. Thiago Santos versus Magomed Ankalaev, a light heavyweight showdown, also known as UFC Fight Night 203 and UFC on ESPN Plus 61. This card, man, 14 fights.
ooh,
Honestly, nothing that I'm like scoffing my head about and complaining about. Some good stuff on here, man. I'm really excited.
yeah, no,
Just
I mean this card. I really think that we have a really good look into what's going to start shaking out at the top of the light heavyweight division. I mean, Thiago Santos versus Magomed Ankalaev. I mean, I think we're going to see a much more technical fight from the opponent of Thiago Santos this fight, and I think we're going to see a banger here, potentially at least.
like
What do you think?
100%. Honestly, the whole thing's gonna be really crazy. I mean, the main card for me is just extremely exciting. You got Alex Pejera versus Bruno Silva. You got Drew Dober and the returning on short notice Terence McKinney.
I
Just
feel like a
one.
lot of these fights could have been on a pay per view. No.
That's what. Are you reading my mind? Get out of my head, yo! I was just thinking to myself, like Sadiq Yusuf Caceres, like that feels like this feels like main card starters for pay per views. I mean, they love sticking Khalil Roundtree and making you pay $65 for it. Um, definitely some interesting stuff gonna be going on here, but we definitely should get started right at the top of the card, pal.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, so we got Thiago Santos versus Magomed Ankalaev. Man, this fight, this one is going to be super high level as far as a technical striking standpoint. But man, I wouldn't be surprised to see Magomed Ankalaev come out and use some of that wrestling too, huh? I mean, these guys match up extremely well, and Ankalaev is one of those all around guys, and Santos, he's shown that he could basically do just about anything, right? But I'm excited to see how this fight is going to play out on the feet. Are we going to see like a staring contest, or you think this thing's going to be a bit more of a banger?
I honestly think, unfortunately, to everybody, I think there's going to be a lot of clinching. I think there's going to be a lot of respect. Maybe when I came into it thinking like, oh, Uncle Ankalaev, with that crazy knockout power, because just those back to back knockouts of Ian Kudalaba maybe just kind of ring true in my head. But at the end of the day, Ankalaev, he's really more of a right. He's really, I mean, he's got the one touch power, but not always. He does. All right, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. He's got the one touch power. He doesn't really like to use it like that. He really is more patient, likes to and really conserve his energy, be and smart, I would say. And I think the Uzdemir fight and the Krylov fight, like his last two fights, really show that. I mean, he also went to decision with Kitson Abreu for what it's worth, but I think that he's a smart fighter, and as you get higher and higher up this food chain, you fight not only better fighters but smarter fighters. And while Thiago Santos, clearly, at least to me, seems like, I hate to say it like that, but like damaged goods. He doesn't seem like he fully recovered from the knee surgeries. He's just not the same guy. At least, even if he did, his body's fine. Maybe mentally, right? Maybe he's just not pulling the trigger the same. He doesn't use the leg kicks the same. I'm not sure what it is.
I don't think he's as aggressive overall
Right.
either, and I don't think he can sustain it for as long at this point, or at least he hasn't shown that he can. To your point here, I agree. He has looked like a different fighter.
And he's not going to be able to just simply stymie the pressure of Ankalaev with like he did with Walker just by simply being there. Like that's not going to be enough.
Well, I
So,
think Ankalaev is definitely willing to wait, for his opponent to make the first move, and he pulls well, he counters well. He can get leg kicked. So if Thiago Santos is going to show off what he really likes to do, at least pre-surgery, he was much more efficient with his leg kicks in the past. He still throws them, but not as at a high rate at this point. and not with as much accuracy. So to your point, he has looked like a different fighter since he's been back. Ankalaev, sure, he is out there a little heavy on the front foot at times. We saw in his last fight in the win over Volkan Ozdemir, he was definitely taking some damage to that lead leg. So he has that switch stance capability, so he is able to hide it if necessary. He can go to the open stance, make it a little bit more difficult for those leg kicks to land. But it's not like Guru, you made a point in your scouting earlier in the week. It's not like Santos really throws those calf kicks as much as like a higher kick. So yeah, I totally agree. And when you see the defense from Ankalaev overall, and you see his accuracy, and it carries over to distance, and then you see that he absorbs less than two from distance for a guy that is landing almost for himself. That's Santos is doing just about the same thing on his side too. So you do have to recognize that like they are
Against
very
a higher
talented
level,
from distance.
essentially also, and to Thiago Santos's credit, against a higher level of competition.
Completely agreed. And I think Ankalaev, he's not prone to get into firefights unless his opponent brings it to him. And I don't think Santos at this stage is going to really bring that to him. So the question is he going to hurt him from distance with the leg kicks and maybe land on an explosive, like a little burst coming forward? But I don't see the same level of athleticism at this point, like you were talking about. And Ankalaev, I don't see him as this killer that's running out to go finish early if his opponent's not bringing it back to him. So ultimately, I mean, what's our play here, man? Because we caught Ankalaev early in the week when it was still minus 500.
Yeah, well, he's warmed up to minus 600 on DraftKings, minus 650 on FanDuel. Gonna keep creeping. I would expect him to see a minus 700.
Right. Well, that's why we tell you to follow our Bet MMA, because we had a play out early in the week with a minus 500 on it.
It's very true. And I think it's kind of interesting. I feel like this would be how wide this line is would be being talked about a lot more if we hadn't just had Islam Makhachev, Bobby Green. So like we're kind of, I feel like, a little jaded to these lopsided main event lines. So it's just kind of interesting to see how wide that line was. I believe it opened like somewhere offshore, like minus 170 or something. But yeah, you got to go Ankalaev here. We parlayed him with something I heard a lot of clamoring about this week. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens in the leg we happen to parlay it to. I'm sure we'll do our due diligences and maybe suggest maybe a couple other things to possibly as a variable. But I do, after the scouting and double checking and triple checking, I feel confident with where we sit. This is the long build, by the way. This is the long. This is what the radio guys call the long build. The hard sell.
So we got our second leg coming up, but this first leg, of course, we caught Ankalaev at minus 500. So you got to make sure you're following our Bet MMA and our Twitter, because we're putting out these plays when we see the line before it moves. So if you guys aren't on all of our socials and everything, and hey, make sure you give us a subscribe to our channel here, help us build the brand out. We're trying to connect to as many people as possible and hit on some winning bets. I mean, last week, we were up 14 units. I mean,
yeah.
The train keeps rolling, baby. So back to the point here. Now that Ankalaev is at a minus 650 on FanDuel and minus 600 on DraftKings, we got to find a little something else to give you guys a solid play for this fight. One of our favorites, the DraftKings parlay special, baby. So right now, I mean, we might be dropping a little bit more separately on a little Ankalaev and over 2.5 rounds, minus 115.
Skirt. Pull that car around. I got something better. It's that other one. It's that FanDuel special I like. It's Magomed Ankalaev round 4, 5, or decision.
Did you find 15? You found plus money. That's the Guru special right there. He's looking for that plus money.
Yeah, always got to have the plus money. Know how I feel about that. Realistically,
that's only a half round more. So
exactly half round more at significant plus money in comparison. Okay. So I think that's especially when the line itself, it's lined over blah, 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 blah. The total rounds is set at over 3.5 minus 120. So they already think it's going to start championship rounds. So there we go. We got the
All right, Guru.
championship round starting with the better fighter, your minus 600 fighter at plus money. So let's get it.
Sheesh. All right. I mean, without further ado, let's
Starting out hot. Let's
yeah,
go.
let's go. All right, keep the train rolling here because we're moving on to our next fight. We got Magic Marlon Moraes versus Song Yadong.
Do you believe in magic? In a young girl's heart. I'll stop.
Yeah. I hope we didn't lose any subscribers for that. But listen. So Marlon Moraes comes in here, and I mean, you want to talk about narrative? Marlon Moraes is going to get knocked out here, right? Song Yadong, big hitter, young guy coming up in the division. Moraes, he's shown to get cracked and really gas out and seemingly, almost, like his body's giving up on him in certain points in these fights. But I mean, you see the line right now: Song Yadong minus 250, Marlon Moraes plus 200. Are we ending up on Song Yadong, or is this a spot where we maybe want to take a look at some props out here?
Yeah, so here it is. It's our classic chronic combat conversation. It's we want, to me anyway, how I frame it. I want to fade this narrative, but it's figuring out where the narrative is to fade, right? So do you fade the hard narrative, right? Do you fade this narrative of Marlon Moraes being washed and Song Yadong maybe being overhyped and Marlon coming out and taking care of business here? Or do you go a little bit less of a degree and say, you know what, everybody's picking Song Yadong to win by finish. Maybe this fight just kind of goes the distance and Marlon shows that he still has the chops, and maybe still has a chin kind of sort of maybe in there, or just Song Yadong isn't the same kind of KO. I was about to say the same KO power as Rob Font, so that doesn't make any sense. So I mean, he just hit him square. I don't know. Yeah, it's tough. And as we continue to flesh this out, which a lot of this podcast is a lot of cathartic thought for us. The only way to play Marlon here is that round one knockout. That's it. It's all he's shown you that he's got, for better or worse. Like, that's it. So
yeah.
Other than that, you're playing Song Yadong, and it's, could be dangerous to be playing over 1.5 or trying to skin the cat when this guy could just go to sleep for you. But I truly, in my mind, that's where I want to go with it. I'd like to fade that narrative of this fight ending early, and I'd like to lean still on the Song Yadong side, despite his, like I think you'd point out, his holes in defense.
Yeah, I mean, and even with all those losses and everything, you look at Moraes' stats, and even with the lower level of competition for Song Yadong, I mean, they're just about dead even in that distance accuracy and defense. I mean, if this thing plays out where maybe Moraes is a little bit more reserved and not going for the immediate kill, I mean, that's where I think his money line at plus 200 is enough if you think that he can get a win, because but Song Yadong, his chin. He's shown to be able to withstand a lot of stuff, but has he faced a guy like Moraes like that?
I mean, in terms of striking explosiveness, probably not. I mean, he's fought a fair share of killers, right? I mean, pull up what are his last fights there? Like, he's got
Marlon or Song
Yadong. Sorry, I don't have
Arce,
okay,
Canetti, Marlon Vera, Alejandro Perez, Kyler Phillips was his loss, and that's kind of where I'm sitting there going, you could see a guy with a more layered striking game was actually able to put the pace. And I mean, so Kyler Phillips lands that head kick, and yeah, I mean, like shit, like Yadong just eats it, but we have seen him knocked out before. It's not like we haven't seen a cumulative boxing and pressure add up on Yadong before in the past. I know he was extremely young. That fight is back in 2017 at this point.
And into the second round, which we haven't seen Marlon Moraes be effective since before the Henry Cejudo fight.
So interestingly enough, Moraes is now out at Tiger Muay Thai. He's talking about the training regimen over there, how it's a little different from a cardio perspective, everything like that. Like, is that really enough at this standpoint? Does he just cut too much weight being such a big guy? Like built out, muscular guy at 33 years old now, still getting down to 135. Is that too much for him? Maybe would he find more success at 145, you think?
Look, I'm not. The last thing I am is a scientist or some sort of athlete. I'm about as far away from possible as both. But it seems to me that Marlon Moraes, of course, is you could take one glance at him and he's a physical specimen. He's a beast. It just seems like his brain has just stopped on him in terms of that.
Mm.
Like, right? I'm not right. Doesn't your brain, like, if you get hit a certain times, it's gonna
Uh,
protect you. It protects you and like turns off a little bit sooner the next time. Is that a
yeah, I
thing?
mean, I don't know. I'll
I
be
feel like
honest, I
that's
don't know. But if you're gonna play any Marlon Moraes like knockout thing, like round one plus 1200,
right. There you go.
that's it, right? So, and I don't trust putting Sung in a parlay here. I really goes to decision. He probably wins,
How about
but
just fight goes the fight goes the distance itself is plus 180. I mean, that's nuts. I mean, even look at that. How is that? Look at the look at the finishing totals right there in the total and the total in the top. Total
yeah.
finishing UFC and career. 45% for
Mm.
Song for right. So the UFC finishing percent is high for him at 77% at the narrative,
Mm.
but
So you know what's interesting is
that's
that
getting the
like
build
some of
back.
these guys that Moraes has lost to recently have been able to threaten on multiple levels, like Rob Font. Like Marlon actually took him down and probably gassed out wrestling Rob Font, and that's probably why the jab hurt him so bad. Corey Sandhagen, I mean, spinning wheel kick, that shit was nasty, but that was in the second round. So like he wasn't looking that bad until he got spinning wheel kicked and like against Corey Sandhagen. Like
Yeah.
it's understandable, but like was he really out or did he just get like knocked down?
So
And
it's
then
I mean
I mean he's got a lot of good wins too.
when you say 1 minute of hell, I mean 1 minute. When you say one round of hell for Marlon Moraes, I mean we mean top level premier MMA. I mean, when he's in that first round, if he could be that first round for 5 rounds, he could be one of your pound for pound best fighters on the UFC roster. It's just exactly that. He's only does it for those 5 minutes.
Right. So ultimately, not a super strong play anywhere, but if you're looking for like a juicy prop, that Marlin round one knockout plus 1200, or even Song Yadong by decision at plus 350, depending on what side you end up on this fight. And I think I want to see what they look like at face-offs because Song Yadong's supposed to be like a little taller here, same reach, but like, well, you know, what if Moraes is just that much bigger? Like, could he hurt him? It's a great question. So I will look to face-offs before I make my official pick for this fight. But those two props, like if you end up on other sides, Song by decision, Moraes by round one knockout. I mean, as far as fading the narrative, those might be some ideas.
I honestly just I might not even take a side. I might just sit back and watch the fight and enjoy from a fan perspective
Uh-oh.
and try to hit some plus money on the fight going over. What?
I think you slipped out a tiny bit there, but you're back.
So I guess all I said was that I like the over. I just like the over and maybe just staying away from the side from a gambling standpoint, so I can just enjoy this fight because it's gonna be sick.
Hell yeah to that. And that brings us right along to our there goes the stats. Bringing that back real quick. Sorry, fellas.
Make sure you while we fuck up, please make sure you give us a like and tell all your friends. Fight doesn't go the distance for Sunrise could be good, but I see Song winning by decision. That Song hedge sprinkling. Right. Yeah. Thank you, Curry Ninja. Yeah, 100%. I think it's I feel like it's the duality of the fight is fairly stark. Like it's just kind of like Marlon KO or Song KO, possibly with a very much stronger chance of a Song decision.
Song and over 1.5 could also be an interesting spot.
Yeah.
Waiting for Moraes to gas out and then boom, you know, get a little second round knocky. But yeah, on to our next fight here. We got Sadiq Youssef versus Alex Caceres.
I would just say, wouldn't you hate that if he got knocked out in the first 2 minutes of that second round, though?
Oh yeah, no, that would be brutal. So yeah I mean, this one, I mean, Youssef minus 240 and Caceres plus 198. This is another like pretty decently wide line here, but I end up feeling a little bit more comfortable on like Youssef as a like a potential parlay piece here. Do you think I'm crazy?
You know why I don't think you're crazy? It's only because at this point of both of these guys' careers, they are much more proven commodities. There's so much more variables. We just fleshed it out so much longer than we thought we were because of all the different variables. Is he going to knock him out? Is he going to survive? Is he not? Is this, that? These guys are much more predictable. I mean, we know what Bruce Leroy likes to do and what he's going to try to do. And Sadiq Youssef, man, just a beast all around, right? Wants to punish you with the strikes. Um, he looked incredible against Andre Fili. Used his game plan against him. I did not expect him to be able to wrestle him. He had top control like he was my boy Khabib. I mean, obviously he kind of gassed out there and lost that third round, but he looked great against Andre Fili, and I'm not sure how many people expected him to win that fight. So
Yeah, I mean, so ultimately, like when I start like looking into how this fight might play out, I get a little sketched out watching Alex Caceres just get dropped kind of multiple times there by Sungwoo
Suho
Choi
Choi.
with
Oh, Sungwoo Choi. Is
with
it Sungwoo
that.
Choi? Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Come on, let me roll, man. I was on it. And he gets knocked down with that straight right. He finally figures out how to slip it, but really, at that point, Choi was just kind of spamming that straight right that jab, straight right or cross, so that it gives the chance for Alex Caceres. Ultimately, when Choi starts gassing out a little bit in the second round, he hasn't gotten the knock. He thought he had the knockout. He knees him in the head while he's still on the ground, gives Caceres time to recover. By the time the second round comes around, Choi's already thought he had it in the bag at a certain point. Now he starts throwing that same combination, and Caceres is able to duck it and just like immediately jumps on it. It's backpack city. It's like Aljo versus Sandhagen all over again. Next thing you know, he's tapping out to a rear naked choke, and it's just like, I don't envision something like that happening, even if Youssef gets hurt. Which does Caceres really hurt anyone at this point?
No,
And
not from the
Caceres is a
strike.
touch and move guy.
Yeah.
Youssef is a walk you down, thump your legs. So how is that going to affect the movement of Caceres? Because he loves that leg kick. And even with the southpaw stance from Caceres, we started seeing that Youssef would throw that leg kick that lands on the back leg, even. And even with the front. So he's going to be consistently throwing that. He throws heavy boxing combos, and he just puts pressure on. And he's an adept wrestler. He uses good reversals when he gets taken down. I just don't see Caceres taking that type of game plan here. I mean, overall, Youssef has been taken down before, but he does all right reversing it. I don't see an easy finish for Caceres. And Youssef, I just think he's going to be landing the better shots as this fight continues going. And even if he's not able to drop and hurt Caceres, like we've seen Caceres hurt plenty of times before, man, I guess we're going to find out. But I like Youssef as a parlay piece at minus 240 here.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because at first you think like 70% implied win percentage might be a little high, but like we were kind of talking about, Alex Caceres, exactly what his game plan is with the wild striking, getting close, take your back, monkey you, get you in some sort of crazy submission, and like we're talking about, like Sadiq Youssef, extremely well rounded, fairly elite with his with his jab and his striking is just super sweet, man, and it's dangerous, and the one thing more dangerous than a fighter with good striking is good striking and good fight IQ, and he's fairly strong with that as well, man, and you look at him against Arnold Allen, and he puts up a tough fight against Arnold Allen, and where he gassed and lost round 3 versus Andre Fili, he rallies back when he should have probably been concussed and sleeping twice, even possibly, in that Arnold Allen fight. He comes back, rallies hard, and wins that third round versus Arnold Allen on all 3 judges' scorecards. Something to be very interesting to be talked about for UFC London. Arnold Allen versus Dan Hooker. But like you said, Sadiq Youssef should be getting it done here. And Alex Caceres was not winning that fight, was losing his whole last fight until he won it. So now they're like, okay, yeah, you finally got into the top 10. You want the top 10? All right, here you go. Go get Sadiq Youssef, pal. Here you go.
Yeah, and ultimately, I mean, Youssef was winning those rounds until, or at least the second round, until he gets dropped by Allen.
Right. Yes,
So
with
it's
crazy
not like
headgear.
yeah, I mean, ultimately you got to tip your hat to Allen, but I mean, there's a reason why Sadiq Yusuf is a super Sadiq, top prospect, one of those guys that you want to keep following here, and it just feels right to be attaching a ticket to him this week.
Do we
Given
any parlay? I mean, any parlays, any props?
prop wise, I don't really love anything.
Yeah,
Hi, sorry people.
Gesundheit.
Apologies. Wow, that snuck up on me. Jeez. But yeah, here we are. Yeah, ultimately
I
don't
guess I
really
kind
have
of
a
like.
ton of props I
I
love.
guess I kind of like Sadiq by decision, but at plus 145, there's nothing special about it.
Yeah, I just ultimately feel so good about the overall spot here that I'm not in a rush to like. If anything, if you felt good about the decision, I'm sure you could do the Sadiq Yusuf and over 1.5. But I
Mm.
just see Caceres get dropped twice in the first round against Sang-Woo Choi, and I think Yusuf is a step up in that regard.
So do you? Is it? Do you see this as like a 2 to win 1, a 4 to win 2 type of play
It could be, but
on a
let's
money
see.
line?
Let's see if we have another play to pair it with because we already have
All
a
right,
best bet for this week. But this is feeling like another solid play. So let's see if we have another leg to add to it. And
let's keep on rocking in the free world here.
hell yeah. So in our next fight here, how about you give the introduction while I get these boys loaded up?
We've got Khalil Roundtree making his return since that crazy fight with Modestus Bukowskis, where people were like getting their torches and pitchfork ready to come for him for that should be quotes illegal knee strike. I don't think so, but some people do. Versus Carl Baby K Robertson, Jersey's own Neptune. Shout out Baby K.
Represent.
I'll give him that. At least he's a Jersey boy. So you get these guys, man. These are some big boys, right? 6'1", 74-inch reach. I'm really interested to see them face off, at least in terms of that. I expect Khalil Roundtree to just be
Oh geez.
so
I
much
think I
different.
entered think I entered the same stats reach guy. I think Roundtree
Oh
actually
shit!
has a 2-inch reach advantage.
Yeah, I was just
That's
about
the
to say.
difference. Yeah. But they are both southpaw, and they both are 6'1". Difference being Roundtree has a 2-inch reach advantage and a 3-inch leg reach advantage. So that could play out interestingly in the Muay Thai. From distance, Roundtree loves throwing those leg kicks, but Carl Robertson also has a background as a kickboxer, and he's actually shown some underrated grappling in the UFC so far. I mean, he's got 2 submission wins, 4 in his career. He only has 2 knockouts as a kickboxer. And then he has 2 decision wins, and he's lost by submission 4 times. And now he
Yeah.
did get hurt on the feet against Brendan Allen. And
Yes.
there is a reason why he turned into a wrestler in that fight. I think making that cut down to 185 was a bit too much. He talked about it in his interviews this week. Carl Robertson, he seems to be coming in a lot happier at 205, a lot more focused on the training and really being prepared for the fight as opposed to killing himself cutting and making weight. And against a guy in Khalil Roundtree that, hey, he's fought at 185 before, right? So has he?
Oh, I thought you were.
Nah, sorry. Uh but ultimately, I mean, he's not giving up much size in this matchup, is the overall point.
Right.
Especially when you see these guys face off. I mean, Carl Robertson damn near had Glover Teixeira knocked out before, the classic Glover Teixeira. Okay, I got knocked down. Let me take you down.
All right, so that
Yeah.
fight, that's the fight that, remember Dan Tom was saying, like, what's the one fight you need to just kind of pull out? That's an anomaly. Like his little possible starting to win that fight is the anomaly you got to pull out. I feel
No,
like.
no, for sure. But it just shows he's performed at that level. And yeah, he got subbed by him. He gets subbed by Vittori. He gets subbed by Glover Teixeira. He gets subbed by Cesar Fajeda. And he gets subbed by
So
Brendan
people think,
Allen.
what I've heard is that people think that because Khalil Roundtree is not going to sub Carl Roberson, that makes Carl Roberson automatically live. And to me,
No.
that's just that's the narrative I'm hearing. It's
Oh, well, I'm saying I don't agree with it.
no, I don't agree with
Yeah,
it either.
exactly.
I think it's nuts. And you look at Khalil Roundtree and there's so many fights of his that literally make you want to throw up. The Marcin Prachnio fight being one of them. What's the other one? The Eric Anders fight. There was so the Michael Jacek fight. There were so many different times where this guy is just like, you're like, dude, come on. It's almost unbearable to watch. But then you watch him fight Modestas Bukauskas. Oh my goodness. I don't know if somebody lit a fire under his ass. Like, I don't know what changed, but he throws 92 strikes and lands 38 versus Modestas. Okay, that may not sound like a lot, but keep in mind that fight only goes to the second round. Here's some quick stats. In the Marcin Prachnio fight, again, all three of these fights 15 rounds. He throws 148 and only lands 49. In the Andres fight, he throws 157, only lands 79. And in the Olajaychik fight, he throws 180 and lands 52. Those are across 15 minutes. So he's landing more, throwing and landing way more strikes, especially in that first round versus Modestas. Why? Because, like you said to me aptly in response, oh, well, Modestas really didn't threaten him too much on the feet or anything. What does Cole Roberson do? He's gonna knock you out, bro. That's not what you're worried about.
I don't know, man. I think that's discounting his striking a bit. I think Modestas Bukauskas was not UFC caliber. Carl Roberson
I don't agree. I'm not sure that I'm not sure I agree with that, and B, the guy does not have a KO at the UFC level.
No, for sure, and I'm not saying that he's going to knock him out, but he's willing to get into the clinch, use control time. So Carl Roberson has 14 minutes of control time in the UFC.
I guess it's not fair.
That's the path.
He had his one KO, his last KO was on Dana White's Contender Series versus actually Ryan Spann. So I guess it's technically was UFC level. But
I'm just saying, like, the whole idea is that Carl Roberson knows how to use his striking to get to the clinch. He knows how to use his striking to hurt people and play from distance and use his defense. Because you look at a 70% distance defense accuracy, yeah, he's not running out there. He's only landing 3 strikes per minute at distance, but he's only absorbing 1.23 at the same token. You know, Khalil Roundtree, for all of what he's done offensively, you know, that all those improvements are against somebody that really had nothing to offer coming back. Carl Roberson does know how to counter. He does know how to strike. He has nuance to his game, and he's not just going to get scared standing across from an opponent like that. So I just don't see the same. Like, Bukauskas was legitimately running away in the octagon at points as he's getting hit early.
Right. He was. Well, because he broke his nose fairly.
Yeah, I mean, but he was running away. The optics are terrible.
I just think when you try to point out Carl Roberson's what did you point out? His distance absorbs per minute. Bro, his fights don't fucking last long enough or stay on the feet long enough for him to be absorbing those strikes. That's why. Brendan Allen fight, he gets hurt so bad he starts wrestling, goes down. Vettori takes him down immediately. Kopolov and Turman. We're not taught if we're breaking down those guys, we're never talking about those guys striking. Those guys are grapplers. Glover Teixeira, known for his grappling. Jack Marshman doesn't know how to fight. Cesar Ferreira, a grappler. Darren Stewart, not in the UFC anymore, a grappler. It's a problem. He's never faced an explosive striker since Ryan Spann, who's not an explosive striker. He's just a hard striker that throws very little. So I'm glad that we have this much pushback between a fight that probably neither of us are going to have a bet on. But that is the name of the show. It's a conversation, man. This ongoing open dialogue. We don't sit here entrenched in opinions.
So Carl Roberson was plus money earlier in the week, now minus 125, and Roundtree at plus 105. That's why I'm not betting Carl Roberson at this point. I do think he's the side. I think he wins. It's just to go from having potentially plus money on that side. Now we're looking over at Daz here. That's the type of greasy submission prop I can get into. A plus 900.
What? It's disgusting.
That's what I'm saying.
Why would it be that?
right. Like
That's his
it's
only way. That's like his way to win. He's going to win a decision. He's +9 plus. Sorry, Daz, +950 on FanDuel.
hey, there you go. We finally beat Daz on a line. But
Hey,
yeah, I mean, ultimately, I just think, yeah, this fight, I lean towards the Robertson side. I think he definitely could find a submission. I don't have, I don't really have a big play on this fight.
I don't have any play on this fight, but I lean on the Roundtree side.
Yeah, so we'll get sliding along here because we got a little short notice matchup here on our hands. We got Drew Dober
This fight's
versus
crazy.
T-Rex Terence McKinney.
This fight's so crazy. This fight is so crazy. It's such a great matchup. They maybe it's a bite off a little much too soon for Terence McKinney, but it's such a good matchup because of how they match up in terms of the striking and their wrestling. It's as you see on the stats, they give up a couple, take a couple there, right? Great red, green, lots of alternating.
Yeah, I mean, this one, it's like, I think this where we see Terence McKinney's cardio truly tested? Is this fight going to play out from distance? Is McKinney going to go for the takedowns right away? What do you see the path being here?
But I do think I've seen Terence McKinney just come out so explosive. There's no way to think that he's not going to do that. Drew Dober may be ready. He should be ready. He better be ready. I just think that he's going to come out, go striking, and then shoot for those hips that Drew Dober does leave open, and he gets taken down. Like it's not he's not some excellent. He's a good wrestler, Drew, but he's not necessarily a great takedown defense guy. At 55%, it's actually fairly not great at all.
Well, that's interesting. So with this fight, Terence McKinney comes up with a pretty alarming size advantage against Drew Dober here. I mean, 5'10" to 5'8". You got a 2-inch height advantage. You got a 3.5-inch reach advantage.
Wow.
And the leg reach 40. So it's, I mean, you got 5 inches on Drew Dober there too. As far as the striking goes, Dober's going to have to come into McKinney's wheelhouse, and McKinney has shown the ability to put together some straight combos. And so if he's coming directly down the middle, I mean, Dober's been hurt before. Dober's been wrestled before, right?
You've seen Dober hurt before. You've seen Dober rock before. You've seen Dober submitted before. You've seen Dober. Yeah, you haven't seen Dober knocked out before, I don't believe.
Yeah, I mean, Dober training in that Colorado, that elevation. I mean, definitely has got the cardio if this fight's going to go. McKinney, that's the question mark. If Dober's able to survive the early onslaught, we must remember, I mean, Guru put it a great way. We saw Drew Dober get subbed by Makhachev in round 3, but I mean, the end of round 1 was super close. No, Guru?
He had him in that a really deep armbar that was pretty much locked in, but he didn't pass his second leg over to really, you know, since I'm a jiu-jitsu expert, yeah, and he ran out of time, but he didn't get that second leg over to really lock it up. And I also felt that he really respected Drew's ground game there, and Drew just was able to survive. Like he didn't make it any term. He didn't really. My cat's fucking with my cookies over there. Get out of my cookies, Phil. He. Sorry. He didn't really, especially in the second round and third, he didn't really try to strike with Islam, or when he did, it just didn't. He just fell straight into guard, which Bobby Green and Dan Hooker didn't do. They fought much harder in the grappling exchanges, which led to different positions, not just full guard. He got side control, mount, back, all these different fucking positions. Basically everything but guard, which is where Islam eventually does finish the fight with the arm triangle. But yeah,
McKinney. But I mean, the line -165 Drew Dober and +145 Terence McKinney. Is there a reason to be on the underdog here?
There is, because Drew Dober, I love Drew, but Drew's not that guy that rises to the occasion. He gets a chance to, have take on a big guy, and Beneil Dariush can't get it done. Has this unbelievable stint, this run after that, in terms of not being a finisher, not being a knockout guy at all. Gets 3 straight knockouts: Polo Reyes, Nasrat Haqparast, and Alexander the Great, the Alexander the Mediocre Hernandez, and then does the honorable thing, steps up against Islam, doesn't pan out for him,
Mm.
and then has this sick fight against Drew Dober in that coin flip line fight. I think we were on Dober, and that was a mistake because Riddell while he wasn't the stronger, he didn't have the more powerful strikes. He had more volume, and then he had the better wrestling. So Brad Riddell, who's not really known for his wrestling, out wrestling Dober, doesn't really give a vote of confidence for somebody like McKinney, who is not only a good wrestler, just one of those guys like we're going to talk about later, is just such a forceful, impactful wrestler. When you have great timing on your entries and around somebody's hips, and great timing, and then you, with all your might, and that's you practice. These guys work out all the time, and you just slam somebody to the mat with all your might, like you're going fucking down. You don't even have to have a wrestling pedigree. You just have to have the good timing, the athleticism. And obviously the technique is most important. So yeah, dog or pass. I like the original line more, -200 plus 175, but I guess we could take it here plus 50.
There we go. We're on to our last fight in the main card here, our main card opener. We got Alex Pejera versus Bruno Blendaro Silva. This fight, this is one that's been back and forth in the Twitterverse. A lot of projecting as to what might happen here, if this fight's going to take place from distance, or is this fight going to end up being a wrestling match here for Mr. Silva? I will say right now we got the line -190 Alex Pejera and +160 Bruno Silva. And yeah, I mean, Alex Pejera has such a depth to his kickboxing background, has shown such a high level of technical skill. And Bruno Silva, he's shown to have mallets for hands and the ability to walk forward, eat some shots, and continue to just throw bombs and get through in the pocket and really win on his exchanges. I mean, just an absolute finisher. The dude's got 19 knockout wins and only 1 knockout loss, but he has lost by submission 5 times. Do we think that Alex Pejera training at Tejera MMA and Fitness is really, going to bring that submission game out to fruition? No. I don't think so. But Alex Pejera, is there a reason why you wouldn't take the favorite in this spot, Guru?
Not why I wouldn't, but I'm sure there's a ton of reasons why other people would, right? You see somebody that has a ton more MMA experience and is a proven finisher at the UFC level, against somebody that's 5-1, right? What is he? Is it 5-1? No, where am I? Yeah, 4-1.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, that's 4-1. I'm sorry. I'm reading into the future, guys. Sorry, he's 4-1 at the moment, and somebody that's maybe doesn't have as much experience, but I think, like you said, he's getting in the rounds at Tejera MMA. You see him, I mean, training with the champion, hard rounds. You see it on his story, and I just don't think that Tejera at this stage in his career is just messing with anybody that would even put a whiff away from.
I mean, they're like main training partners.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like there's something there that's a special guy that you picked there in Alex Pejera.
And also, I mean, can we talk about how the 185 Pejera towers over Tejera at 205?
Yeah, that's
towers over him. He just looks like a gigantic human being next to Glover Teixeira.
So what I find interesting is that everybody's like, ready to hate on Alex Pejera here and is all over Bruno Silva by finish, but like, how? Like, explain it to me. Like, so it's an MMA fight that Bruno Silva, we look over here at his lovely stats, he has 3 UFC fights to his name. He has not attempted a single takedown. Okay, so if you're betting on him to start grappling or make it an MMA fight, you're not going to see that, right? Because with it, you can't bet on something that hasn't happened. And then you're telling me this is going to be a straight kickboxing, standing at distance, or maybe in the clinch type of fight with one of the best kickboxers in, martial arts history. This guy, and again, a guy that we just saw face a guy that grapples, like that's what Andreas Michailidis does, and that he holds him down for the whole 5 minutes. So
Not
that
even, man. Not
I'm sorry.
even. No, like when you watch that tape, like he gets taken down a little, like
Oh, right. No,
maybe
so
kind of
my
early, but
point
like he's fighting position the entire
That's what I'm
time.
saying. No, that's what I'm saying. So I'm sorry, he doesn't hold him. He wears on him for those 5 minutes. But what you do see is you see Pejera, you see him, what's that? Table up or he not posture, but table
Tripod.
up. So there it is. He tripods up. He forms a level for himself to keep himself off the mat. He shows to me fairly advanced takedown defense for somebody at this stage of their MMA game. And again, somebody like Michailidis who came in there, that's all he wanted to do. Okay, we'll just make this guy tired. We'll wear on him, whatever. Great. You wore on him for the whole 5 minutes, tried to gas him out. All it did was gas you out. You get knocked out very quickly to start that round two.
Yeah,
Now
I
you
mean,
get
listen, same deal. If you expect Silva to come out and wrestle, you expect a guy that doesn't use it in extended periods in his fights to come out and wrestle and not gas out himself. Like we talked about, Pejera is huge.
and again, so you can't expect him to use it because he hasn't. And how is this guy that has a 5-inch reach advantage? How is he going to just let you use it when, again, a guy that all he does is train his grappling wasn't able to use it? It doesn't really add up to me, and I feel like we're getting a really good price on him. I just don't. I think that Pejera is a guy to fade. I just don't think that this is the fight. I think they want to take the hype of Bruno Silva, this 3-fight win streak, of four. Actually, it's a huge fighting win streak. It's
Well,
a three
3-fight UFC
UFC win
debut
streak.
win streak. I mean,
Right.
that's and all with knockouts.
So what you want to do is you want to take that from a guy like Bruno Silva, who has fairly limited marketability, and you want to take all that hype and you want to take Bikini Bottom and push it somewhere else. You want to take that hype and you want to push it right into Alex Pejera, because when he wins, he's gonna absorb that 3-fight win streak, all that hype.
So if you want to avoid a side, I do lean towards where Daz is talking with this over 1.5 at plus 125. Could be interesting. So I think with guys like this, it's not going to be a quick knockout necessarily. But Silva, the way he comes forward, maybe I am feeling comfortable because as the second leg of our play of the day here, we got Alex Pejera, and we caught him at minus 170, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we parlayed that minus 170 with the Magomedon Ankalaev at minus 500 earlier in the week. What did we place this on, Monday or Tuesday? I believe it was on Monday. Yeah, so if you guys are following us, Twitter, Bet MMA Tips, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel here. Help us keep growing. But listen, our play of the day, we caught it, earlier in the week at a minus 110.
Oh, not to mention this 3-fight win streak of Bruno Blendaro Silva. One of them was against Andrew Sanchez. He doesn't win that. Like, he's losing the whole fight. Then Andrew Sanchez kicks him in the dick, is gassed out, and then demoralized, and then gets knocked out. Because, again, we've already talked about it on a different podcast, how Andrew Sanchez, unrightfully so, fell in love with his hands. So it's just like, the writing, to me, the writing's on the wall. I feel like this guy, Pejera should almost be like minus 300 or something.
Yeah, and I think he could do it by decision too. If Silva is as good with the boxing as everyone's saying, I still think that Pejera will be able to keep his range. And even if, Silva gasses out a little and gets a little clinch control time, maybe wins a round off of that, I still think that when this fight is taking place from striking distance, Pejera is going to be winning every minute.
And I'm not sure how great he is with the boxing per se. He gets clipped by Jordan Wright. I mean, he does get hit across.
And he's getting kicked. He's getting landed on by Jordan Wright. So people, if you're playing it now, it's minus 128, Ankalaev and Pejera.
Wow, we
I
got
hope you guys. I hope you guys are
Right there.
following us early in the week, -110.
Wow,
So
yeah, -110.
that closes out the main card for us here. So we're gonna start picking up the pace as we get into a few fights that we might not have as many plays on, because you know, there's definitely a few here as we start digging deep that I definitely see as a bit sketchy. And yeah, I think we'll start right here. Matthew
The deep one.
Semelsberger versus AJ Fletcher. Um, I mean, just from a size perspective, we got an 8-inch reach advantage and a 3-inch height advantage for Semi. He's also got 4 fights at the UFC level, going the distance with Chaos Williams, eating his best shots. You know, I mean, yeah, I mean, should Semelsberger ever be a -200 favorite?
No,
That's
I'm not.
actually not so bad.
Yeah, I was
It's
gonna
just the level of competition, because when he faces Sano, when he faces Jason Witt, guys that haven't proven to have a chin,
well, yeah,
it's
he was a
very different.
-400.
But
Yeah, he was like a
now,
-400 favorite there.
but now -200 here against a guy like Fletcher, hot prospect coming off Contender Series. It's not that wide at this point. I feel like it's gotten bet down a bit, but -200 Semelsberger, +170 to Fletcher. I just think Semelsberger is going to be able to set his pace here.
All right, so here's why you can't bet Semelsberger. And it's only because we just haven't seen it. And this is what I was talking about before. AJ Fletcher is a guy, trains with Dustin Poirier out of Louisiana. Yeah, Semelsberger's a lot bigger. A lot bigger, at least with the reach anyway, for sure.
And
Especially, and
3
he's gonna
inches
be
of height.
and he's gonna be taller too.
Yeah.
But you see Fletcher trains in Louisiana. He's just a physical specimen. Has no wrestling pedigree. But when he goes for these takedowns, you would have no idea. He mixes them in wonderfully with the strikes. You never see him coming. Knows when to change levels, and again, wraps around, so forceful, and drives you straight down. And when you've seen Matt Semelsberger fight, at least in the UFC, we've seen him face one takedown. So we have no idea if he can face a takedown from somebody that's now going to be a little bit lower to the ground. And and again, Semelsberger is maybe bigger, but he's not bigger. Semelsberger is a thin guy.
Fletcher looks like a fire hydrant. I saw someone say on Twitter. That shit was like a legit description.
He's what you like to call a brick shit house. He's Sean
Yeah.
Brady. He's Dustin Poirier. He's wide body. You know what I mean? So if he gets in on Semelsberger's hips and drives him to the fucking mat, you could see him blanket Khabib this. I don't know. Is Matt Semelsberger this unbelievable guy? Jiu-jitsu, scrambles, gets up, fights the hands, uses the cage, gas tank for days, can go to the second. I don't know. So for that reason and that reason alone, it's a pass. It has to be, or at least it has to be dog or pass in terms of that, because you don't know unless you sit there and you train with Semelsberger, or you have very extensive amateur or regional tape to him. There's no way to really know how he's going to handle something like this, because Fletcher is going to come. He's going to shoot for a takedown. So like that number of that his one takedown face will be much higher next time he fights.
Yeah, I just seeing that Fletcher only has the one decision win, and I know he's definitely put on the pace at times, and he's gotten these takedowns on the regional scene. It's just the level of competition is not quite all the way there in my book. And 2, he's a finisher, and you know, Semelsberger is going to be tough to finish here, especially with the size advantage. And I just that's where I say, if you want to fade the narrative in my book, being on the Semelsberger pick here, but trying to avoid that money line, is +120 by knockout. But where I'm leaning is the +300 by decision.
Yeah, something
that would be my idea. Because I think you could definitely see Fletcher come out here and win the first round, maybe even get a live betting opportunity.
How about
I don't trust the guy making his debut to win a decision with his wrestling.
How about Semelsberger round 3 or decision +250?
That is an interesting conversation to be had.
How about
Okay.
an interesting chronic back conversation over here?
Talk about an interesting conversation. We got our next fight here, and this is another one where I've seen a lot of people on either side and seemingly like sticking their flag in the ground. It's like I don't feel that strongly on either side here overall. I really just think that ultimately, like JJ Aldridge, you got her coming in at plus 108, Jillian Robertson at minus 126. I see a path to victory for both fighters here. JJ Aldridge, I
Yeah.
mean, she can go with the volume on the feet. She can stuff a few takedowns, she can work her own little top control game and stuff like that. I don't think that those are really good ideas in this fight. And Jillian Robertson, she's really struggled against fighters that have a clear athletic advantage. Shout out Schwan Humes, friend of the show. He did talk with us about that when she was slated to face Miranda Maverick, and we saw it play out that way. However, JJ Aldridge also coming up, from a history of fighting down at 115, now in a much more healthier weight class for her at 125. She has a little bit more of that natural strength. It's just, Jillian Robertson cuts a much more substantial amount of weight to make that 125. And I think that this isn't the type of level of athlete that we've seen her struggle with wrestling in the past. This isn't Cynthia Calvillo. This isn't Mayra Bueno Silva. This isn't Macy Barber. This isn't Miranda Maverick. This is JJ
No, I mean,
Aldridge in the wrestling.
realistic.
So,
Yeah, I mean, JJ Aldridge is while she's a UFC athlete and great talent in a lot of ways, she's not an athletic specimen by any stretch of the imagination.
nah. And so, if there's a way for, Jillian Robertson to win this fight, you see that Aldridge has got 2 submission losses on her record, and you see Robertson at plus 175 for submission. I'm not loving a side here, but if there is anything that I might just throw a couple dollars on in this fight, I think it would be that.
Well, so yes, I mean, to me, I do lean on the Jillian Robertson side. I don't necessarily love playing it at I don't love playing it in general, really, but I do lean to her. I think that JJ Aldridge, while she should have the advantage on the feet, the problem is she doesn't. She's not Max Holloway. She's not going to stay on the feet. All roads for JJ Aldridge eventually lead to the clinch and down to the ground. And when you get down to the ground with Jillian Robertson, that's going to play in the swamp with an alligator, dude. What happens when you go to the swamp with an alligator? You come out without one of your arms or legs. So I think that Jillian, even if she could be losing this fight and then end up winning it, because I watched JJ Aldridge fight Courtney Casey, and it reminded me of watching Ulanbekov fight on Dana White Contender Series, just constantly in these terrible spots, leaving yourself open for triangles and arm bars and just giving these positions up, and your opponent not being able to capitalize on them. If you do that with Jillian Robertson, she will capitalize. So Jillian Robertson by submission is probably the play if you like Jillian. I also like, even though it's chalky, I would play Jillian Robertson money line finish only on DraftKings, because if it goes the distance, you void your bet. So I don't necessarily think that Jillian would win that way and by distance, unless she just sits on top and JJ gasses out. But I don't
So
really
what's
see
your
it that
line on
way
that?
either. My line was,
It was like minus 250, right?
yeah, it was a little chalky. It's minus 250 exactly.
All right. I mean, that's like one of those interesting potential parlay piece. I don't see JJ Aldridge getting a finish here.
So the
Yeah.
thing is, and this is my hesitance to all of our millions of listeners out there, if you parlay a money line or decision, like a money line finish or money line decision only, be prepared that if the line, if you don't lose that bet and the line just voids, it's going to change the odds on your parlay. So all of a sudden you
Mm.
have extra units on a minus
Hmm.
money play as opposed to a plus money play that you probably designed up, if that makes any
All
sense.
right. Well, we move along to our next fight here. We got Trevin Jones plus 130 versus Javid Basharat at minus 150. Looks like Trevin Jones still training out of Drysdale BJJ, and Basharat has been over at Extreme Couture getting some cross training in recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. Seeing Basharat kind of control, with the top pressure, land some big ground and pound in his Dana White Contender Series fight. I don't think the path there is going to be quite as easy against Trevin Jones. I think it's going to end up, a lot more clinch cage control, and more so than anything. We've seen Jones, very strong in those positions in the past. And Basharat, on the regional, he does dominate it and have some great performances, but we really haven't seen him get pushed to the distance. And Jones does have a lot of experience in that regard. I, it might not be the sexy play here, but at plus 130 for Trevin Jones, I think that's kind of where I'm leaning here. Even though I might not make a big play or like an official pick as Trevin Jones, I just think there could be a little bit of sneaky value there fading a Contender Series guy in his first appearance against someone that's got some juice here. What do you think, Guru?
Yeah, from what I saw from Javid Basharat, he to me seems like one of the most complete fighters coming up out of Dana White's Contender Series. I'm not sure where the weakness is. He looked so, and again, it seems maybe again like you could say it seems a little early to say in terms of what kind of competition you're facing. I mean, he fought Oran Cologne in his Dana White Contender Series fight. Dude's 16-0. You know, he
Am
just,
I
and
am I
again,
just a
it's not.
hater?
No, I don't. Maybe I just think maybe you just got some of the Trevin Jones member berries. Remember when Trevin Jones cashed twice
Mm,
as the underdog?
mm,
Remember when? So like, it's just
mm,
tough because you watch Kakramanov. I mean, he took his fucking lunch money, man. He beat him like he cut him off in traffic and kicked his dog. Like, it was Trevin Jones landed like 12 strikes and just got out
mm.
grounded for 8 minutes and then submitted in the last 2 minutes. It's just
Yeah.
a fucking mauling. And
Trevin's always losing until he isn't, right?
I mean, yeah, a little bit. And the problem is, I liked Trevin up until the fact that you're going to start possibly wearing on him with the grappling, which Javid absolutely will. He's going to lay on him in the clinch. He will try to take him down. He looked, again,
Mm,
unbelievable in his debut. Was not afraid of this Oran guy the guys that was a jiu-jitsu guy. Was not afraid of his
mm.
of any of that. And I mean, just beat the shit out of him. I mean, it was just a complete mauling on Dana White Contender Series. I'm really, really excited for this fight. It's kind of one that I almost want to play just a straight up money line play on Java and
Interesting.
1.4 units to win one to 1.5 to win one. Want to
Hmm.
see weigh-ins for sure and face-offs, which again I guess is tomorrow. Shout out to Thursdays. All of a sudden back to the old
Yeah.
school. Um, yeah, I like Javid here. Not on Trevin Jones for me personally.
Yeah.
It
Even fight
despite
goes the
Trevin Jones.
distance at plus 120 could be interesting.
All right, see now there you go. You want to start fading some narratives. Now you're talking
I
my
was gonna
language.
say, I think I found the right narrative to fade. You got a guy with a 100% finish rate, but Trevin Jones, his finish rate is below 50%, and he's lost by decision plenty, 5 times in his career. He's also won 6 decisions. It's a guy that's been in there, and although he's been hurt, and we've seen him, in bad spots before, he makes it to the bell, or he comes back and wins. So even if he doesn't come back and win, a plus 120 on the fight goes the distance here. I think Trevin Jones could make it there.
Plus 146 on FanDuel.
Ooh, okay, all right, all right. So, yeah, I think I found actually. I think Guru helped me find the play I was looking for on that one. And
Yeah, and
that'll.
again, you know what? And that's kind of interesting. I feel like something you learn. You don't have to take a dog or pass spot. You don't have to take that grandma's couch cushion, that Hail Mary shot on the dog. Go find the prop. Go dig somewhere else. Maybe that old saying, maybe you're barking up the wrong tree in that respect. Go look elsewhere. Try to handicap it elsewhere.
All right.
So our
Next
young
one
farmers
here.
out there.
We got Damon Jackson, the Leech, versus Kamwilla Kirk. This one, I admittedly, came out, maybe a little interested in the Damon Jackson side here. The cardio, the grappling output, um, overall experience. Um, the line right now dead even. Jackson -110, Kirk -110. Um, ultimately, I just I'm not sure. I end up having a play at this point on this fight. It's not one that really piqued my interest. Guru, how about you?
In terms of a play, I didn't necessarily want to risk any of my own hard-earned money on this fight. Um, I do question how people are laying their hard-earned money on Damon Jackson. The line opened at plus 140 for Damon and is now, like you said, a coin flip, which is again crazy. Damon Jackson is, and I say this with all due respect, terrible. Like he is like he's okay. He's got some flashy striking and he's got some great jujitsu. Like it's kind of and honestly and some good cardio. But I feel like it's like everything else between is just like specifically and most importantly your striking defense
Mm,
like awful 48% terrible like
yeah.
you're getting pieced up homie that is bad
And he's
that
only
is
landing at 39% himself. So it's like the
that is
ratio there,
Because
not
because at
ideal.
the because at the end of the day, he's almost like a Ryan Hall type with his striking. He's got the flashy distance kicks and like he's long and lanky. So again, he's got the athleticism for the snappiness of his strikes, but there's no real power and there's no solid combinations and there's no true variety. He's unorthodox until you get a read on him in the first 3 minutes, and then it's okay, I know what you're gonna do here. Um
Yeah.
Past that, you look at who he's beat. Charles Rosa, who gets taken down by a big gust of wind, and Mizrad Bektik, a fight that he absolutely lost in every single possible way until Mizrad is unbelievably gassed. Like he just ran from here to California and back. Like he is exhausted, and then and then Damon taps him out. Like it's nothing. Like that is not an impressive win. Then he gets pieced the fuck up by Ilya Taporia, which was hysterical, and I loved it. I loved every second of it. And then, like I said, he beats Charles Rosa. Big fucking whoop, man. Now you look at our guy here, Kamela Kirk, who taken the long way to get to the UFC, beat guys like Kevin Kroom, all right, then gets a shot on Dana White's Contender Series, has a tough fight versus a guy you may or may not have heard of, Billy fucking Quarantillo, right? Sorry, Billy, but I think Kamela Kirk honestly won that first round and then realized, oh my God, I cannot go toe to toe with Billy Quarantillo. This pace is fucking inhumane, and really doesn't show up out of the second round, and just Billy all heart, all balls, and just kicks the shit out of him. But Kirk stands and eats all those strikes, man. And then he fights on LFA, another guy you may have heard of, Bruno Souza, a flashy striker, great fighter, now also UFC level, legitimate guy, fighting in 2 weeks against Luis Saldana. Like a split decision. Well, really, I watched the fight. A really close fight. Like, you know what I mean? Like that. Those are two tough guys. Heavy output, good striking. Then goes on a 3-fight win streak, including Amir Khani, which is a really close, dirty, gross fight. But that's what it's going to be against Amir Khani. Guy going to take you down. Amir Khani gasses out, and Kamela Kirk kind of grinds it out. I like Kamela Kirk here, and the reason is now I get him in a coin flip. I feel like this is one of those situations where Vegas actually lined it right, like the Jim Miller fight. Like Vegas kind of lines it right, and then the public kind of takes it away. Like they just kind of get caught, swept up with it.
Hmm.
So I'm on Kamela Kirk here.
Okay. All right. And listen, he's -102 on FanDuel right now. He slipped
That's
into
why
that plus money
at
territory.
plus money, for sure. It's not even close because Kamela Kirk, yeah, he can get taken down a bit, like unfortunately, but like, he's not Charles Rosa. Like, he's
Right.
not going down that he
So
will fight that.
yeah,
And I have and
so mhm.
Damon Jackson only started ramble. I did a lot of tape on this one. Damon Jackson only gets like whatever it is, 2.5 per 15. So if he gets discouraged and hit, then what? What's he gonna do? Is he gonna keep spamming it? No, I think he's gonna struggle.
Yeah, ultimately, I think this fight being plus 100 not to go the distance when Damon Jackson's only been finished in his losses, and Kirk, he's shown to gas out, with a high pace before. So if Jackson does bring that pace and he's looking good, he probably wins inside the distance. And if Kirk wins, Damon Jackson's only ever been finished before. So plus 100 inside the distance, just a
That's an
fight not
interesting
to go the
thought.
distance. That's interesting. And Kirk, if he keeps sliding to plus money here, let's see the face-offs. I mean, he's supposed to, he's an inch shorter, but he's got a 4-inch reach advantage, Camilla
What
Kirk.
did you say that
So
was plus money?
yeah, it's plus 100 fight not to go the distance on
You
DraftKings.
you have to hit that because on FanDuel it's minus 104. So I actually think that that's going to be like our buddy Shark likes to say. I think that's going to be a winning line.
That's it, man. So on to our next one here. We have Sabina Mazzo versus Miranda Maverick. Miranda Maverick filling in on short notice. She took this fight. She's looking in great shape, by the way. She said she was staying ready, and she stepped in and kind of tried to do the same thing against Erin Blanchfield on short notice. But we learned that Erin Blanchfield is basically like Khabib light, essentially.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but I
And she's
mean
like kind of
Sabina
cute.
Mazzo. Oh, for sure, man. But Sabina
Yeah, super
Mazzo,
cutie.
yeah. Anywho, let's as Guru gets sidetracked on
Sorry,
the
sorry,
women's
sorry.
fights as per usual. We got
Oh,
Sabina Mazzo, yeah, for versus Miranda Maverick. And Sabina Mazzo, since when has she really shown much of a takedown
anything's possible.
defense, And we've seen some combos with like the head kicks, but she's really not the highest of outputs overall.
No.
Just it over the course of a fight and landing at an efficient rate. I think Miranda Maverick is very content to fight in the clinch, make it ugly, use her physicality. She's going to be much shorter. She's going to be giving up a reach advantage. So I am very interested to see the face off here. But I do overall, it's just a tough spot because you see right now the line is minus 320 Maverick and plus 260 Mazzo. I mean, Mazzo's fought at 135 before, and she's coming back down again at flyweight. And I mean, to lose to Agapova in round 3 in a striking match is disappointing to say
Not a
the
good look.
least.
We were
And if
on
Maverick commits
for
to
both
that
of them, right?
wrestling,
Yeah.
I mean, we could see, a potential. I don't know that Maverick is a finisher, so I don't know that we see the finish, but
I,
I
I
do
don't know
think
that
that you can see a lot of top control.
I don't know that she has to be a finisher. I just think that Mazzo is a fader. I don't
Mm,
know. I don't know where she pulls away from Maverick here. She's gonna
mm,
pull away like with distance strikes. She's gonna keep it on the feet and just Wonder Boy and style on her and pick her apart from distance and like what? How? Where? She's got
mm.
no head movement. She's got bad footwork. Like she's fairly. I don't know. It's like I don't know if she's cerebral, but I feel like she's fairly slow. Like she's gonna get clinched and eventually taken down.
Yeah,
And you've seen that she can't get up.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Maverick is gonna grind
Liability.
on her. And I think that Maverick is the type that's just like super hungry, super competitive. And like that's kind of one of the reasons why we were on her versus Aaron Blanchard. She's like, oh, she won that Macy Barber fight, so now she's gonna come out and make a statement. And she had a tough matchup versus Aaron Blanchfield. So now I think this is the fight that it's like, okay, no more Mr. Nice Girl. Like, I'm going to come out and, 30-27, 30-26, somebody that clearly just does not belong here in the UFC.
Yeah, it's just with only 6 minutes of control time so far in the UFC, it does make me nervous if she tries to make this a fight from distance. But you see her training
Mm.
now with Rocky Pennington, Neil Magny, up and in some elevation there. She's over at Eastern Performance Center. So Mazzo switched over to a little Teixeira MMA and fitness for a few weeks there,
Right.
but ultimately, I think that Mazzo gives into the pressure, and if she's not able to set her pace early, it's not going to look good for her as the fight continues to go.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't want to lay a minus 320 on the money line, but a little
no,
Maverick and over.
I think, yeah, I just think that he's just gonna get it done. Like you look at Sabina Mazzo. She lost to Agapova, like you said. She loses to Alexis Davis, who's mixing in the wrestling and making it difficult for you. And Alexis Davis, if we know anything about her, she has no striking defense, doesn't like to move, likes to get hit. So Miranda Maverick, who maybe her biggest weakness might be the fact maybe her striking defense and getting hit a little bit too much. I don't see that being an issue here versus Mazzo in terms of power or anything. And then you look at you look down at Mazzo's previous fights, and I watched just for poops and giggles and in terms of irrelevancy to the card. I watched the JJ Aldridge fight. She didn't beat JJ Aldridge, in my opinion. She didn't win. He won round 3. JJ wins round 1 and 2. So like that's how fights work. She doesn't win that fight either. So she doesn't. She struggles with the jab of JJ, and that's a problem.
For sure.
I think Maverick can implement a similar game plan with just a frustrating left jab and mixing in some takedowns.
Yeah, ultimately Mavericks the pick. I just don't. I don't. Something keeping me from throwing a parlay at that price.
Yeah, minus 300 on Prospect MMA,
That's
women's
it.
Prospect MMA.
For sure, man. So that brings us to a men's prospect out here. We got Cody Brundage versus Dalcha champ Lungiambula. I mean, I came in, I was like picking this apart and saying like, listen, Dalcha just doesn't really throw in combination enough for me. Overall, he's just not super efficient. But then I go and I start watching the tape on Cody Brundage. I'm like, well, what exactly is he gonna do to win a UFC fight against someone that's gonna make him scared on the comeback? Cody Brundage in that
Don't call it a
Maximov
comeback.
fight, he had a distinct striking advantage against Nick Maximov, and he had a pretty decent cardio as well. But you see a guy that's really looking to get to his wrestling, and yeah, he's hurting Maximov in the stand up, having a good time, all that, but like. And yeah, he actually ends up winning round 3, but a lot of that, comes from him getting some control. It comes from him landing some ground shots. It comes from him like winning in the cardio battle and like, um, watching his stand up on the regional scene. I I do not want to see him practice his stand up against Dalcha Lungiambula. Um, Lungiambula is going to have a reach advantage. He's going to have a power advantage, and he has an advantage just overall in the in MMA experience. And if you think that Cody Brundage is going to be able to get in and land a few easy takedowns and really work his control on the mat, like Dalcha's just not that guy that gives up an easy takedown. The only one he's given up in his career is to Magomedon Ankalaev. And when you watch this guy in the clinch, I mean, he is strong. He knows what he's doing in those judo throws when he goes for his own takedowns. He's landed 7 out of 15 in the UFC at 2
Well,
per 15. And he used the top control against Marcus Perez. I get it, some of the level of competition, the names he's beaten, but like, bro, like Cody Brundage got his UFC opportunity on short notice, and now this is like, all right, now we'll give you like another matchup. But like, I mean, Dalcha's not that big of a drop off as far as level of competition in the UFC. I really think that he's a really tough guy for someone like Cody Brundage. Tell me different, man. I mean, minus 132. It's like
no,
I'm
I'm not.
interested in Dalcha.
I'm not gonna tell you different. So you mentioned that he's good with the judo specifically. Dalcha is a national judo champion, right? On the judo team, 2007
Champ,
and
Dalcha champ,
2009, right?
second degree judo black belt.
Right. And okay, and then ADC BJJ world champion as well. Well, I get African trials, but the dude is just a fucking beast. And thing is that while he looks the part of literal Hulk, he to me, you ready for this handicap, does not have the power punching of Hulk. You don't see it really at all, honestly. Okay, so you look at his fights here. His last two, right? His last two have gone to decision versus Marc Andre Barriot and Marcus Perez. And then you have the front kick versus Magomedon Ankalaev, our main event guy here. And then you have his finish, his lone UFC finish versus Daquan motherfucking Townsend. Like, that guy's not UFC level. Then he's got a decision win, right? Then a finish versus whoever Stuart Austin is, and then a finish against none other than Alain Badeau. We know Alain Badeau very well. Are we impressed with a 26-second KO of Alain Badeau? I'm not. Okay. This guy is not a finisher. He's got a ton of decisions. He has 5 decision wins. He is more likely to win by decision than any other way, shown by his record. Why? Tell me why on earth I can get Dalcha Lingambula by decision at plus 430. Massive. I'm about to lay I'm about to lay a unit or two. I'm about to lay something. Like, what the what? How? Why? That, like, I think Longambula will be happy to sit in a clinch. We'll be happy to grapple with him. Brundage is not gonna just gas out. We've seen that. He was the one that actually won the 3rd round versus Maximov after getting grappled for 10 minutes. I think it's gonna be a boring smoke break fight, but I think we should cash a decision here.
Interesting. I'm just gonna stick to the Dalcha
And
money line here,
and
but that
before
Dalcha by decision.
and
Ooh,
just so
ooh.
you know, before you think I'm crazy, already cashed. I did this already. I cashed on Marcus Perez, not on Marcus Perez. I cashed on Dalcha Lingambula by decision plus 400 over Marcus Perez. That was on the I remember that was the it was the Chiesa and Magny card, I believe. That
Hell yeah.
Wednesday.
So nah, man, listen, I'm there with you, man. That's certainly a way to fade the narrative because I don't, as much as Brundage, whatever, like I do see him getting into those clinch and takedown opportunities and getting reversed and being handled there and not really getting to play his way. And I think against a guy that's, I think Maximov was, he not much of a multi-level threat. It was truly just the takedowns, and Maximov tends to gas out a little himself when he's wrestling too. So Dalcha, I think he's going to be much stronger in controlling, coming down from the 205. He already did it successfully for one time, and his cardio held up. So yeah, I'm all on Dalcha here.
Yeah, and I think you're gonna see him on Bet MMA for sure. So make sure you're following that, guys, and check us out on Verdict, Tapology, Instagram, Twitter, obviously, definitely Twitter.
Yeah,
And I'm thinking maybe we should make a Facebook page.
that sounds like a pretty good idea. It's a social media manager.
I know, right? I was just thinking it might be able to let us post in those Facebook groups that we sometimes struggle to get our own posts up in.
Yeah, but I guess given the direction our conversation was heading there, you guys could tell we're not. Unfortunately, I'm not too excited about this next one. Chris Moutinho versus Guido Canetti. I think while it could end up playing out as an exciting fight, I'm not excited to put a pick or a bet out on it. I think that's my general feel. Guru, you seem pretty excited though. What you got here?
That's because I already have a bet out on this fight.
Oh, really?
I really do.
What do you have? Please enlighten me. I'm actually interested. I didn't know about this.
Yeah, no, I placed it just before. I don't know what's up on my internet. I've gotten I can't get my notes up, whatever.
Yeah,
my shit's all fucked. But what I saw on this was that these guys are 2 tough son of a bitches. Like, really, really tough. And you see Guido Canetti is a guy that really, he starts out aggressive and loves to smash leg kicks. Just smash these fucking leg kicks really hard, whip them in. And you see somebody like Chris Moutinho, right? Loves the boxing, the counter striking, chin for days, as you saw. A bit of a journeyman in terms of his record, and kind of getting finished via sub, and just kind of that. But it's been a little bit since he's been finished. He's honestly lost a few more decisions than he's been finished. He's just and again, like we said,
Wait, Moutinho?
Yeah,
he's lost 3 knockouts and 2 subs and nothing else.
That's it. It's just by finish.
He's only been finished.
Oh, I thought it was. I don't know what I saw. Because I meant his wins. His wins.
Yeah, he has 5 decision wins. Correct.
His wins are a mixed bag. Sorry. Thank you for correcting me. I'd hate to sound like an idiot. His wins are a mixed bag. He loses by finish. So that's what I'm saying. So that's telling me my bet here is that this fight is going the distance. These guys are both tough. And like you saw Chris Moutinho take all the punches that Sean O'Malley could take, and Herb Dean must have had a Sean O'Malley knockout bet because he took. Oh, listen, Chris is taking a ton of fucking damage there.
Yeah, listen. I mean, the other thing though, I mean, you remember the end of the first round there, right? I mean, Moutinho gets dropped, and then instead of the ground and pound, O'Malley goes for a choke because of how late they are in the fight, and like. I don't know how Moutinho gets back out there for the second round. I thought the fight was donezo on the stool at that point, just given the short notice, Moutinho stepping in. I mean, he did not look good walking back to the stool. So to like as a throwback to the Drew Dober idea, it's like, well, we've seen him finish plenty of times, and Guido throws hard. I'm not sure I'm rushing a place.
So here's the thing. But the problem is that Guido has extremely sloppy boxing, and he leaves his own head on the center line, and he himself is extremely open to being countered,
and 0 knockdowns in the UFC in 7 fights,
and he will shell up, and he's 42, and he's smaller. Like it's just, I just see, and you see Chris has a crazy. You saw him have a pace. You saw him have output. I just think these guys are gonna beat the hell out of each other, walk around this fucking octagon for 15 minutes, and Chris Moutinho is gonna pull out a decision. But like, yeah, I think it's gonna be like, I think I'm gonna be grinding my teeth in terms of they could finish each other at any second, but I think that they're gonna stand up for 15 minutes. I think it's gonna be a war.
Well, fight to be won by split or majority decision, just in general, plus 500. If you think this is going to be a tough, scrappy decision fight, fight to go the distance, minus 110. But if you think it's going to be a splitty,
I laid it at minus 104 on FanDuel.
So, all right, well there you go. I mean, that's a solid angle.
Yeah, I'm trying this new thing out where I'm like, if I see something like that, I'm going for it. And I'm going to do the same thing with Dolce, honestly. Like the same size play of
all right,
about $20-$25.
So here we are. We're at our main card opener, and we made it. Tafan Chukwi versus Azamat Mirzakhanov.
Finally, we get to see Mirzakhanov. I've had to watch tape on this guy like 8 times. he except last time I didn't think it would be in 3 months until we got to see him again. I guess did he have the vid?
They did have to pull out that last matchup for him, but as I find out exactly why that happened, I mean, Tafan Chukwi, he's gonna have a distinct size advantage here, 2 inches of height, 6 inches of reach, but as we've seen him, even at 205, be a little bit of the slower guy.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was slow
at 185.
He was the slower guy to Mike Slow Rodriguez. He was slower than Mike Slow Rodriguez. What does that tell you?
Yeah, and I mean, like, if this was going to be a one-dimensional striking match, I might say, okay, there's a possibility, he could maintain his distance and all that against, but I just think, Mirzakhanov, he's got the background in combat sambo as well. And I think he's much quicker with his hands. He's got the 7 knockouts, 1 sub, 2 decisions. Chukwi's got 4 knockouts, 2 decisions. I just think that Chukwi is a little slow in plotting. He doesn't have like the most diverse background overall. Like as far as like what he can throw, it's a little repetitive, and I think Mirzakhanov is just more fleshed out and developed, and Yeah, so I mean, he had his fight against Vendera. Vendera had to pull out, and Linz had to pull out of their matchup that was booked, and then Prachnio pulled out of his matchup that was booked with him. No one wants to fight Mirzakhanov, and I do appreciate Chukwi getting in there with him. I don't know if it's going to be a finish because we've seen Tafan have some pretty good
Oh, it's gonna be a
durability
finish.
overall. But yeah, I mean, Azamat at minus 188, is that a parlay piece with Sadiq, or are we just throwing down Sadiq solo at this point? I think as we said, like we are gonna go through this card, see if we could find another piece. I think Sadiq is just gonna be solo there. So ultimately, I'm not really looking at that minus 188 money line. And you're saying you might be thinking about a little finish bet here?
So yeah, I honestly I don't think the fight goes the distance at all. So I think you can play that at chalk at what do they have that at? Minus
230.
minus 230. I honestly think that's fine. I really don't think so. I also would say that this fight, I don't know if this fight gets out of, they said it at over under 1.5. Under 1.5 is plus 130. I don't know what it is I'm feeling right now. I'm smelling off kicking off the card with some violence.
Hmm.
Tafan is just they found the one guy on the card for Azam on the card. They found the one guy on the UFC for Azamat with like even less experience than him in terms of that. Like he's got some good UFC experience, but he's got less fights. And Azamat, while kind of a prospect, is 35. That steroid history and 2-year suspension does kind of raised some flags to me, but he looked incredible on Dana White Contender Series, although he did what he was supposed to as a major favorite. I really do like what I see in terms of, like you said, just being a more fleshed out prospect, the movement on the feet, the popping in and out of range for Azamat. It's just gonna cause a problem for Tafan. You saw Tafan struggle with even the jab of Jung in their fight. No, not Jung, sorry, Park. Of Park in their fight. He struggles with that left hand, in a majority decision win for him, but he really does. He struggle, especially early on. He really struggles, and I think Azamat is gonna make him struggle too because he has an even a more diverse striking set than Park. So I do like Azamat to get it done here as Phil comes and joins me here. Um,
Oh, doctor, late appearance, but he made it as always.
Yeah, I think we like Azamat to get it done. Realistically, Azamat has a ton of these first round finishes, right? So I really also like Azamat round 1 or 2 plus 160.
All right, looking at potential first finish loss for Tafan Chukwi. Um, Ultimately, our best bet of the day was a parlay of Magomedon Ankalaev and Alex Pejera. We got it at minus 110 earlier in the week. Hope you guys are following our bet MMA. If not, you can lay it at minus 128 now. I still think it's worth it. And then you got maybe Magomed Ankalaev and the over 2.5. We had a minus
I
115,
got it.
or the Guru
I got it.
special.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was just thinking instead that blah, 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 the minus 128, you parlay Sadiq Yusuf to that.
Oh, go for a 3 leg.
Well,
Ah,
it's our three strongest feelings, no? At least at this point in time.
I think so. But I could see
Who's
us
the
just laying.
suggestion?
I could see us just laying Sadiq straight or a Sadiq and
No,
over 1.5 type of deal.
that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
It was a suggestion
Oh
to
yes,
others
but
that may
letting
not
our
want to play
listeners
the
know.
minus 128. Since we played at minus 110, they might not
Okay.
want to play minus 130 on this our best bet. So I was suggesting maybe, yeah. Oh, and then the Guru special, was that my Dolce plus
No, no, that
448?
was the 4 or 5 decision for Ankalaev at the plus
Oh,
money
thank
that
you.
you found. The Guru
Yes,
special,
yes,
please.
yes. The Guru special. Thank you.
And then
Which did
yeah,
pick
we're
you
good.
on.
Dalcha straight, baby. Let's do it. Or
Dolce.
Dalcha decision plus
I'm gonna make you
460,
take.
huh?
I'm making you take. I will probably make us take a at least a quarter unit flyer on that on Bet MMA.
All right, all right. So hey guys, stay posted. Please subscribe to our channel. Push to 200 subscribers here, and we're gonna keep on going up from there. So hope you guys enjoyed the show. We got Dr. Phil joining us to close it out. And man, looking forward to next week. What do we got? Is UFC London?
Yes, UFC London at the moment still Alexander Volkov versus Tom Aspinall. I
Oh
expect
man.
I expect Volkov to like get like a horrible, like I'm almost concerned for what he might get in terms of a drunk London crowd walkout.
Yeah, I mean, hey guys, thank you so much for joining us.
You're
And
just not, just not going to engage in that at all.
nah, I think we went long enough today, my friend. See
All
you
right,
boys
fair enough.
next week.
Take care.